Now, the Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy is touring Europe to drum up support for Ukraine's fight against Russia's full-scale invasion. He's currently meeting representatives from the Belgian government who have pledged 30 F-16 fighter jets. The first deliveries are planned for this year. The announcement comes as EU defence ministers are meeting in Brussels to discuss further military aid for Kyiv. And we'll hear more about Ukraine's reaction from DW's Roman Goncharenko in just a moment. But first, Teri Schultz has been following the meetings in Brussels for us. Teri, tell us about Zelenskyy's tour so far. Has it been successful?
Well, the Ukrainian president arrives here in a very somber state of mind, and anyone who's seen the pictures in the aftermath of those devastating attacks on Kharkiv understands why he even had to cancel this trip once due to the seriousness of the situation on the ground. That said, as you mentioned, he has had some success in getting support from Spain, which he visited yesterday, and today in Belgium. Each country has signed a long-term security deal with Ukraine, as well as agreeing to give 1 billion euros over the course of this year and ongoing financial support in the years to come. Those F-16s are going to be very much appreciated, although, of course, Ukraine's been asking for them almost since the war began. And we should all remember that he's forced to go to each of these individual governments asking for bilateral support because there's no chance at the moment that Ukraine can get what it really wants, and that would be, of course, membership in the NATO alliance and the security of an Article 5 security guarantee.
And, Roman, what's been the reaction from Kyiv to what Zelenskyy has been able to achieve on this tour?
Well, as Teri just said, it's very important that he's traveling at all because the visit was cancelled due to the situation in the north of Ukraine where the Russian army was advancing in the past days. So it's important he could go. It's important that that news came that 2 bilateral agreements were signed in Spain and now in Belgium. Of course, the news about F-16s is very welcome here in Kyiv because Ukraine is still waiting for Western countries to deliver those fighter jets. The preparations are ending now. The training of Ukrainian pilots started in late summer and autumn last year. So now the pilots are preparing to come back to Ukraine. And of course, the first jets will be arriving this year. This is a very important information. I've been talking to a U.S. Military pilot just a few days ago, and he said Ukraine would probably need about 100 F-16s per year. And this war is not going to end soon. This is the impression. That's why it is very important for Ukraine to have guarantees that those jets will be coming also in the coming years.
And, Teri, are the EU defence ministers who are meeting, are they on the same page regarding support for Kyiv?
Most of them are on the same page when it comes to, as we've discussed, increasing bilateral support for the government. Just this morning, the Netherlands announced a new initiative to try to send to Kyiv parts of Patriot air defense systems and then assemble them there in Ukraine. That's very important. Although, of course, Ukraine would like to see countries coming forward saying, we don't need our Patriots right now, and we will send them to Ukraine. We didn't hear anything about that at the arrivals this morning, simply this new initiative to send pieces of Patriots, which if that's all Ukraine's going to get, it's going to be thankful for that. But I'll come back to on the same page, and that is because Hungary continues to block billions of assistance that's been earmarked for Ukraine. They absolutely refuse to let things go forward, but we have seen an increasing amount of frustration by the other members of the European Union, some of them saying that there has to be a way to force Hungary to allow this money to go forward because Ukraine needs it now, and every delay is costing Ukrainian lives.
And, Roman, given the situation that Ukraine finds itself in right now, just remind us what Ukraine's greatest needs are at this point in the war.
Well, the basic needs are, of course, the same. It's air defense, more air defense. That's why President Zelenskyy is appealing nearly every day to Western countries to donate those Patriot systems to Ukraine because they're very, very effective. Germany did that. Germany has just delivered one more IRIS-T, a German-made air defense system to Ukraine. But Ukraine needs much more because there are a lot of towns and cities close to the Russian border that are being shelled as we speak. Ukraine also needs to make sure that the situation that it was about half a year when the United States could not deliver because of internal political reasons, there was a pause, a long pause in weapons deliveries from the United States. Ukraine wants to be sure this will never happen again. That's why those bilateral agreements are so important with Spain, with Belgium, with other countries. But basically, Ukraine needs to make sure that the flow of ammunition will not stop.
Goncharenko, thanks so much for that update from Kyiv, and Teri Schultz reporting from Brussels. Thanks so much to you both.
In Ukraine, soldiers are trying to hold back or at least slow a Russian incursion near Kharkiv. DW's Max Zander went to the front lines to see how they're doing it.
We are racing towards the new front line with a combat drone unit that calls itself the Peaky Blinders, northeast of their hometown Kharkiv.
If you hear the command to turn on the electronic warfare, it's the one nearest the button.
He means the jamming system to stop enemy drones. 3 kilometers from the Russian side, these men are not the only ones hunting. Anton commands this group. Many of them used to play football together. There's even a father and his son. While their focus is on vehicles, no enemy targets are safe. They use cheap, improvised devices which can destroy equipment worth millions.
It could be any kind of target, from an infantryman to a tank, and that depends on what kind of explosive we've got here.
With the right payload, drones can even penetrate armor, as another unit demonstrated in recent days. All systems are in place, and the men start their search for targets. They find a group of soldiers.
They're walking along the edge of the forest. I think they're going to come out.
The Russians are sitting ducks, as we soon see firsthand. While the soldiers at the other end of the trench make out the targets, Commander Anton flies the attack sorties. His team have been in this area for 2 months already, well before the recent Russian attack.
Everyone heard the rumors of what was going to happen. Our commanders set us some tasks to see where there's a cluster of enemies, to find it and identify it.
On May 10, the Russians opened up this new front. In the beginning, the Peaky Blinders killed dozens each day. Now the Russians are concealing themselves better and intercepting many of the Ukrainian drones.
Did you see the explosion? Yeah, there's a hit. Let's get closer and take a look.
It's an enemy truck.
It's heavily damaged, but not yet destroyed.
Drones like these have completely changed the battlefield. They now destroy more hardware than any other weapon. Despite their simplicity, first-person view drones are constantly evolving.
Since I started, this is already the 5th or 6th upgrade that's been added to these drones. I'm constantly learning something, reading, communicating with others, to stay current, even as an old warhorse, as they say.
Commander Anton takes us to a fellow unit close by, always wary of enemy drones. The commander in this foxhole is Anton's brother Sasha. As we arrive, they've begun attacking the Russian group spotted earlier.
Okay, I'm going to guide you. Now look, this is the biggest tree. Yes, enter from this side.
It's pilot Vitaly's first combat, about to zero into the enemy.
Awesome, right on target. Vitalik, you did great. Hey, check this out. Look, they're burning. Let's go for another one. We'll do another one.
They injured at least 2 soldiers. Now they're trying to send in FPV drones, but it seems at the moment they're running into issues with connection, or rather with the Russian jamming. They send in drone after drone that end up crashing.
I want to do my job as well as possible, because eliminating the enemy saves the lives of our boys. There's a lot that depends on this work. So, of course, we feel the adrenaline.
After overcoming the jamming problems, the Ukrainians managed to kill or injure the entire Russian assault group. The Peaky Blinders used to be an infantry unit, but they switched to combat drones. Their role is less immediately horrifying now, but it's still dangerous.
When the invasion began, it was much more difficult to deal with this. Everything was just unclear. During the first 6 months, there was no physical or moral fatigue at all. But now, it's chronic. But we're holding on.
As we finish talking, a reminder of the imminent danger.
Yes, don't move.
They've heard a drone that isn't theirs. The rifles are the last resort.
A Russian Lancet kamikaze drone flew over. We started shooting at it. We didn't realize it right away.
A powerful loitering drone looking for equipment. This time it got away, and we are told it hit a Ukrainian vehicle.